Minister without revealing to Canadians his massive multi-million-dollar foreign holdings. And he isn't even required at the point of becoming Prime Minister to reveal these holdings. He has 60 days to share the information with the Ethics Commissioner, and then another 60 days, for a total of 120, before some of that information goes public. Worse, he can simply put the existing holdings in what is called a blind trust, while his trustee keeps him invested in all of the same things. So he could go on and govern for years, quietly and subtly knowing what investments he has and making decisions that profit himself at the expense of the Canadian people. He could affect vital regulatory decisions, national security, international trade, all to his own benefit, all against the benefit of the Canadian people. Now, if you question whether he's willing to do that, keep in mind that Mark Carney's first decision after Donald Trump first threatened tariffs against Canada was to move his headquarters to the United States, sending Canadian jobs to America. So, what if he continues making decisions but now has all the power to make them with being Prime Minister of the country? Now, to be clear, there's nothing in the law that prevents Mr. Carney from doing the right thing today. He could voluntarily disclose to Canadians all of his holdings, and then people could judge for themselves. He could offer to sell them all so that he wouldn't be in a conflict of interest. But he's being sneaky. He continues to hide. What is he hiding in all of these finances? And how could he possibly negotiate with President Trump? You can be sure of one thing. President Trump believes in using leverage against his counterparty. He said so in his book. And his officials will come in with a briefing note. And that note will say, here are all Mark Carney's millions of dollars of financial holdings in the United States. And the president would then be able to use his massive regulatory, taxation, government buying, and other powers to manipulate Mark Carney against our country. You can be sure that President Trump will leverage all of Mark Carney's financial interests against Canada. And then Canadians would lose out again, just like they lost out when Carney sold out Canada and sent jobs to New York a few months ago. How could Mark Carney support Canadian energy if he's invested in foreign energy projects that compete with that energy? How could he regulate financial institutions to stop ripping off small businesses when one of his companies is accused of doing just that? How could he save jobs when one of his companies is presently laying off 1,000 workers to pay bigger bonuses to shareholders? That's why I'm announcing that common sense conservatives will bring home accountability by amending the Conflict of Interests and Ethics Act to require anyone who becomes a leadership candidate for a registered federal party to disclose all their holdings to the Ethics Commissioner within 30 days and publish them publicly within 60. We will also require Prime Ministers and Ministers to sell off all holdings that put them within a conflict of interest within 30 days of taking power. That will put you back in charge of your government and bring home power to the people. It will ensure that our leaders work for you, not for greedy and corrupt interests. It will prevent our leaders from selling out our people for personal profit. And it will stop corrupt, immoral, elitist, and globalist forces from pulling the strings of the people in charge. Simply put, our leaders must put Canada first. They must work for you. And that is what I will do. We will restore the Canadian promise so that your hard work guarantees you a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street, protected by solid borders and brave troops under a proud flag in Canada. Let's bring it home.
Thank you. We will now take questions from the floor.
Excuse me.
Mr. Poilievre, Nathaniel Dove, Global News. Hoping to get your reaction to the federal government's decision to not proceed or at least delay the counter tariffs, given President Trump's pause, and how you would interact with Mr. Trump, given how unpredictable he can be.
We need to keep the counter tariffs in place until the president removes all tariffs forever for Canadians. We can't have half measures. We have to send a clear message to President Trump that if he wants a fight, then we will fight back. We will defend our people and our country. So the president must remove all tariffs on Canadians before we remove counter tariffs on the Americans. My message to President Trump is you've got two options. One, you can attack our economy and we will fight back. Your consumers will pay more, your workers will make less. Both our economies will weaken, leaving less money for border security and defense on both sides of the border, and our enemies will grow stronger. Or you can knock it off and get back to the best trading relationship the world has ever seen, so that both our workers make more, our consumers pay less, our economies have more money for national defense and border security. We can stand up to our real enemies on the other side of the oceans, and America and Canada as two separate countries will be stronger, safer, and better off. That is the choice with which I will present the U.S. president. But if he doesn't want to deal with Canada anymore, if he wants to attack our economy, then we must be prepared to be strong, sovereign, and stand on our own 2 feet. And that means repealing C-69, the new pipelines law, rapidly approving LNG plants, pipelines, mines, and other projects. It means passing a big, bold, beautiful, bring-it-home tax cut on work, investment, energy, and home building. I call it bring it home because it's going to bring home that $500 billion the Liberals pushed south, and it will mean you bring home more of your paycheck. That is how we're going to take back control of our lives and bring home our business, jobs, and money. Merci beaucoup. Il faut garder en place les contre-tariffs jusqu'au moment que le président Trump mette fin de façon permanente aux tarifs qu'il a appliqués contre le Canada. Il ne faut pas avoir des demi-mesures. Il faut nous assurer que les tarifs américains sont éliminés pour le bien et pour toujours. Comment est-ce que je vais gérer M. Trump? C'est ça la question. Je vais lui présenter un choix. Ou bien, Monsieur le Président, vous attaquez notre économie, nous allons riposter, nos deux pays seront affaiblis, vos travailleurs gagneront moins, vos consommateurs paieront plus. Nous aurons, les deux pays, moins d'argent pour le militaire et pour nos frontières, et nos ennemis vont être plus forts. Ou bien, vous pouvez arrêter avec le chaos et on peut en fait faire plus de commerce. Ça permettrait plus de chèques de paie pour nos travailleurs des deux pays et ça nous permettrait d'avoir une économie assez forte pour élargir les militaires et fortifier nos frontières. C'est ça la meilleure façon de faire avancer nos deux intérêts. C'est ça le choix que je vais présenter au président Trump. Et aussi, on va ramener la production, on va ramener notre souveraineté ici au Canada parce qu'on ne peut pas dépendre de M. Trump. Il est imprévisible et il prend des décisions qui sont mauvaises pour son pays et le nôtre. Donc, il nous faut ramener la souveraineté économique ici au Canada en annulant la loi C-69 pour bâtir des pipelines, des mines, des centrales de gaz, de liquéfaction de gaz comme GNL Québec. Il faut couper les taxes et les impôts pour ramener le demi-billion de dollars que les libéraux ont expulsé vers les États-Unis. Ça nous permettrait non seulement d'être plus souverains et maîtres chez nous, mais aussi de ramener la promesse du Canada. Merci.
Thank you. Next question.
Terry Newman, National Post.
The House of Commons has been shut down by the behest of the Liberal Party. Do we even have a sense at this point what kind of negotiations are even being made in Washington? How hard we are negotiating to stop these tariffs?
I don't think we do. I mean, what we know is that since President Trump first threatened these tariffs almost exactly 100 days ago, the Liberals have done precisely nothing to make us more self-reliant. They continue to make us weak. We have the anti-pipeline law, C-69, still in place, the carbon tax still in place, the threat of a capital gains tax increase on our investors still in place. Not one tax has been cut, not one regulation has been removed, not one step has been taken to give permission to our incredible businesses and workers to build things in this country. And so we are in a position of weakness, not only after 100 days of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, but after 10 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals. And now they want us to give them a fourth term. After 3 terms in office and 10 years of making Canada weak, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals want us to give them a fourth kick at the can. Sorry, 3 strikes and you are out. We need someone else to hit the ball, and we need to take back control of our economic destiny. That's what common sense conservatives will do when we bring it home.
Thank you. Next question. Prochaine question. Bonjour, Jérémy Bergeron de RDI, Radio-Canada. Vous faites une sortie ce matin pour attaquer Mark Carney pendant que tout le monde parle de Donald Trump. Pourquoi est-ce que vous pensez que c'est plus important?
Mais je me suis adressé à Donald Trump, c'était le premier... Avez-vous été là quand j'ai commencé mes commentaires ce matin? Oui, je me suis adressé aux menaces injustifiables de Donald Trump. Mais on peut aussi... Les libéraux veulent que nous oublions. Ils veulent que nous oublions qu'ils ont doublé le coût de logement, doublé les files d'attente chez les banques alimentaires, doublé notre dette nationale et qu'ils nous ont affaiblis face aux Américains en attaquant nos entreprises et en bloquant les projets de ressources naturelles. On ne peut pas oublier ça parce que ça avantagerait juste les Américains. Aussi, dans 4 jours, M. Carney sera en mesure de négocier avec les Américains en même temps qu'il a des intérêts financiers aux États-Unis. Il faut que ces intérêts soient publiés pour que les Canadiens puissent être rassurés qu'il ne va pas vendre les Canadiens à Donald Trump comme il a déjà fait en déménageant son siège social à New York. Il faut que nous ayons un premier ministre qui va mettre le Canada d'abord. Maintenant, plus que jamais, c'est important de savoir que le premier ministre du Canada travaille pour le peuple canadien au lieu de pour ses profits personnels. C'est pour ça qu'il faut faire le ménage et mettre le Canada d'abord.
Thank you. Next question.
Do you want, Yes, please. I'll do it quickly in English, and then we'll go to the next question. Thank you for your question. I think you might have heard I opened my remarks addressing the unjustified threats of President Trump. But within 4 days, we will have a new Prime Minister who will be negotiating with President Trump. And that incoming Prime Minister refuses to tell Canadians where his millions of dollars are invested and therefore where his real interests lie. Imagine Donald Trump leveraging Mark Carney's multi-million-dollar investments in the United States against Canada's interests. How is it possible for Mark Carney to stand up for Canadian jobs when he's already moved jobs from our country to New York? How is it possible for him to support Canadian pipelines that might compete with his foreign energy investments? How is it possible for him to support Canadian energy independence when he has already invested millions of dollars in American coal? The answer is not possible. His financial interests run against our national interest and put us in an incredibly weak position in confronting President Trump. And make no mistake, the U.S. president will take advantage of that weakness. I should also add that Liberals want to use this crisis to make you forget. To make you forget they've been in power for 10 years and 3 terms, that they are seeking a 4th term in office. And they want you to forget that they are the ones that doubled housing costs, doubled food bank lineups, doubled our national debt, drove $500 billion from Canada to the U.S., and made us weak in the face of our American counterparts. What we need is a Prime Minister who will bring home our jobs and money and put Canada first, and that is what I will do.
Thank you. Next question.
Bonjour, Monsieur Poilievre, Alexandra pour Urban News. Si c'est possible de répondre à la question en français et en anglais. I was wondering, should the police investigate the fact that Mark Carney was given a confidential briefing by Melanie Joly about the looming U.S. tariff, and why, in your opinion, why Mark Carney is avoiding to speak with media?